Thank you for tuning in to Beauty for Ashes. We welcome you all to the Pamela Orox Foundation. And I want to say thank you once more, fellow saints, for tuning in to our broadcast. And just call a friend, call a sister, tell them we are on the air, and I bet you will not regret the next 30 minutes that you'll be spending with us. Today, we'll be continuing a 2-CD series message entitled The Message of the Cross. And we'll be examining the cost of discipleship today and the result that you receive for being a true disciple of Jesus Christ. And I'd like us to turn our Bibles to the book of Luke, chapter 14, verse 25 to 35. It is written, "Great crowds were following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, 'If you want to be my follower, you must love me more than your own father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, more than your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. And you cannot be my disciple if you do not carry your own cross and follow me. But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first getting estimates and then checking to see if there is enough money to pay the bills? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of funds. And then how everyone will laugh at you. They would say, there is the person who started that building and ran out of money before it was finished. Or what king would ever dream of going to war without first sitting down with his counselors and discussing whether his army of 10,000 is strong enough to defeat the 20,000 soldiers who are marching against him? If he is not able, then while the enemy is still far away, he will send a delegation to discuss terms of peace. So no one can become my disciple without giving up everything for me. The Bible says salt is good for seasoning, but if it loses its flavor, how do you make it salty again? Flavorless salt is good neither for the soil nor for fertilizer. It is thrown away. Anyone who is willing to hear should listen and understand. So, Jesus is speaking to his disciples here, and he's not only speaking to his disciples, the disciples of the first century, he's also speaking to us, and he's giving us the guidelines, the directions of what it means to become a faithful follower of Christ, to become a true disciple. He says you have to give up everything. You have to love him more than you love yourself, more than you love your wife, more than you love your sisters, more than you love your brothers, more than you love any other thing on this planet Earth. In fact, nothing is supposed to stand between you and Jesus. That is the requirement for being a faithful disciple. And he says again in verse 31 that you cannot become my disciple unless you give up everything. So, and this cost of discipleship is just like the altar of sacrifice. And what do I mean by the altar of sacrifice? It's like the tribulation period that any faithful Christian has to go through for cleansing, purification, and transformation before you could be qualified to take the gospel to the ends of the earth. So Jesus Christ is giving us a requirement. What does it take to become a faithful disciple? You have to give up everything. In fact, nothing has to stand in the way between you and God. Anything that he tells you to give up, you have to give it up. You have to fulfill that requirement. Nothing is supposed to stand between you and him. You're supposed to love him with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your might, in order for you to become a faithful disciple. He says, in fact, you have to carry your cross, shoulder your own cross, and follow him. So, it is not cheap. Sometimes, we see some of these men and women of God, we don't know what they go through behind the veil. Jesus Christ clearly spells it out. We need to give up. We need to live a life of sacrifice. It's a whole lot of... You need to deny yourself. You need to give up a lot to be able to embrace these gifts of the kingdom, this discipleship. In order to become a true disciple, you need to give up. You need to deny yourself. You need to lay down your will. In fact, you need to make it to the spiritual Gethsemane, because he himself is our example. For example, in the book of Matthew 26 verse 39 to verse 36 to 39, when Jesus Christ said made it to Gethsemane, he was a true example, a perfect leader, he was showing us what it means to be or to become a true follower of Christ. He said you need to give it up all. You need to lay down everything on the altar of sacrifice in order to embrace the will of the Father. And he did this by giving up his will in the Garden of Gethsemane. Remember, it was so hard for him. Jesus Christ, they said, the Bible says he prayed, and great clots of sweat were dropping down like blood, because he prayed, and he actually did not know what to do, because he did not want to go. He did not want to be crucified, because he saw the horror of the crucifixion, and it was something that he sat back and thought to himself, I cannot take this. That is why he said to the Father, Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass away from me, but nevertheless, let thy will be done, not my will. It was so hard. It was not easy for him. But because of his love for the Father, because of his honor that he has for his Father, he decided to lay down his will in the Garden of Gethsemane. He gave it up all. He said, Father, when he finally said, Father, if it is possible, take this cup from me, but nevertheless, let your will be done, not my will. I will do it. Because of you, I will do it. So Jesus Christ is calling us to take upon his example. Look up to him as the perfect sacrifice. He sacrificed his will at the Garden of Gethsemane. So every one of his faithful followers, we need to make it to a spiritual Gethsemane. We need to make it to that point where we say, Father, not my will, let your will be done. We give it up all. We lay down every cat on the altar. We need to make it to that spiritual Gethsemane, which is like a present day altar of sacrifice. Just like Apostle Paul says in the book of Romans 12:2, that we need to become a living sacrifice. Our lives have to become that living sacrifice. So, in order to become a true disciple, a faithful disciple of Christ, we need to give up. We need to let go. We need to lay our wills on the altar. We need to go through that tribulation period. And that altar of sacrifice, that Gethsemane, is like a tribulation period that every believer who says they love Jesus, every Christian who says they love Jesus, they need to follow that path. It is a narrow road ordained by Jesus when he spoke about it in the book of Matthew chapter 7 verse 13 and 14. We need to be cleansed. We need to go through transformation. We need to go through purification. And we need to make it to this altar to be able to fulfill and accomplish this purpose for which Christ came. And we need to do it his way, not our way. I would like for us to turn on to the book of John chapter 15. And let us examine some more the things that you face for embracing his will. When you must have made it to the Garden of Gethsemane, which is a modern day altar of sacrifice, the things that you face, the challenges that you face while going through this road, while going through this period of tribulation, while walking in this trial, these storms, these are the things that you face. John chapter 15 verse 18 through 23, it is written, it talks about the world's hatred, and these are the things that you face for wanting to be a faithful follower, for wanting to give up your will, for wanting to lay it down all on the altar of sacrifice to embrace the will of God. He says, when the world hates you, remember it hated me before it hated you. The world will love you if you belong to it, but you don't. I chose you to come out of the world, and so it hates you. Do you remember what I told you? A servant is not greater than the master. Since they persecuted me, naturally they will persecute you. And if they had listened to me, they will listen to you. The people of the world will hate you because you belong to me. For they don't know God who sent me. They would not be guilty if I had not come and spoken to them. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Anyone who hates me hates my Father too. So, that is what you get for being a faithful follower. Because there are some things, when you lay down that will on the altar of sacrifice, there are some strange things that you'll be going through spiritually that nobody but you will understand. Only you and God. For example, he was preparing the hearts of these disciples for the persecution. And he was telling them, the world will hate you. Nobody at a certain point in time will even want to listen to you. Because in other words, there are certain things that you'll be going through that the world will see it as strange, and they will not believe that it is me walking through you. So be prepared. Be prepared. I am trying to prepare your mind so that when those things start happening, you will not say, I did not warn you before the time. And he says, a student is never greater than the master. Since they persecuted me, obviously they will persecute you. If they had listened to me, they will listen to you. But since they did not listen to me, they will not listen to you. And when all these things start happening, do not panic. Just take heart and know that you are in the right position. You are on the right track, and know that I am with you always.